All right, welcome back to This Takes the Cake. We're super honored and excited. This is actually our very first podcast with our very first bride to come on the podcast, and we have Miss Angie Knight.
Yay.
Does that sound weird to say or hear?
Yes. Where is she?
I don't know. Well, we're excited to have you. Thank you for coming on, and we can't wait to talk all about your wedding. I mean, we really haven't caught up too much since the wedding, so I think there's a few things you don't know about the wedding that I get to kind of throw at you as well. So we're just going to jump in. We have a lot of questions for you about planning and the wedding and the process and all that. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I love it. All right. So first, where did you hear about SMB?
I am an Instagram follower of
I love
SMB.
it. A little Instagram follower.
Mhm.
Okay. I
Yeah.
love it. And how was your first meeting with SMB?
I think it was great. It took Mom about 5 minutes before she fell in love with all of y'all. You got that portfolio out, your coffee table book.
Right.
So that was fun. That kind of,
It was, and we were in our much smaller office.
That's right. We were elsewhere, weren't we?
Yeah,
It was really cute though. It was like a little European village street.
Yeah, it was super cute. Yeah, we were over at 38th, but much smaller. I mean, it was very small.
Oh yeah, you could fit that in the entrance of this one.
Right. So what made you confident to book SMB, or what was like the moment?
I mean, I think I trusted you immediately. I just
And
kind
you
of
knew I was a NASCAR girl.
I did, yeah. That was quite the coincidence too, actually. Who I never would have guessed that walking in there until we got to know each other. But
Right.
yeah, no, I think I trusted y'all immediately. I
Yeah.
had seen all of your work, and then you knew the answers to everything that I had a big question about.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're very type A like us too. So I knew we were going to get along great. You like to get stuff done. You're a morning person. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. When we were obviously meeting and talking about packages and stuff, like what planning package you wanted, or is that something I helped you figure out when you came in?
Well, that probably had a lot to do with Mom weighing in too, because I'm a pretty, like you said, type A person.
Hands-on. Yeah.
I had no idea though, really, at the end. I could never have done that. Never. So she knew immediately she wanted you to do everything. And that
Right.
was the best thing we've ever done. And we've told everyone
Aw.
that. Yeah. There's no way that we could have ever done that.
I love it. I love
No.
it. That's awesome. Yeah, and people don't realize until you get going. They're like, oh, we just need you month of, and then they get going. They're like, oh boy, there's
Yeah,
a
no.
lot of logistical things, and the getting back with the vendors in the back and the forth is sometimes like pulling teeth, you know.
The
So,
spacing of that out and, your timeline, that's what helps you not go over the edge in the
right,
final
one
months.
step at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize how far in advance these things need booked. And
Right,
that you
yeah.
need if you want the best of the best, you need to get the A team with the relationships to get you the best of the best.
Yeah,
Because weddings are a big business and there's a lot of people getting married.
There is. And I know people think like, oh, like if they came to us right now and they wanted to get married in 3 to 4 months, I tell them it's like bottom of the barrel vendors, you
Yeah.
know? So
Mm-hmm.
you want to plan it a minimum of a year out, year and a half is where we really like to be, to get the best vendors
Yeah.
so that they're available.
100%.
How far out did you start planning with us?
We visited you, I believe, like the November before. We got
Okay,
married
so
in October.
about a year
Yeah.
out. Yeah. And that's definitely a perfect time to start planning, especially the venue. I don't think there was very many dates left at Brick Green.
There was only one day in October at the Polly's Island Chapel, which was
Oh.
super important.
Yeah.
That was the one thing Jeff and I that's the first thing we knew we wanted.
Right? I
And
do remember
then-
you telling me that.
Yeah, Brooke Green, that was interesting because I didn't realize this until then, but she said there were multiple weddings in there that day. And then that day there were no other weddings but mine, so something clearly happened there.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything about it
Exactly,
either. So if
yeah.
there was, I didn't see anybody.
No.
So maybe they changed their date.
Yeah.
All right. What would you say are the 3 most important things you wanted to have at your wedding?
I was super fixated on the details. So the linens,
Yes.
the lighting, the things that really set it apart, that make people remember the day.
No, absolutely. Well, let's talk about other details. I know that was super important. Well, photography, was that important to you as well?
That probably was
Yeah.
number one. I don't consider that a detail. I consider that a monument, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing you walk away with. And I mean, you had Pasha, so.
Well, and you said that from the very beginning when I told you that my husband is not a fan of getting his picture taken.
But, yeah.
You immediately said you need Pasha.
Yeah.
And that was the best decision ever.
Yeah, the photos are amazing.
He and Natalia are really, they're magic at the craft. They just know.
Yeah.
And they have a nice way of, we've had our picture taken by a few other people, like our engagement photos out of the country.
Yep.
And everyone's so nice, but the two of them have a way of speaking to you and giving you
Direction without
it
being.
makes you feel like you don't feel like an idiot. It's great.
Exactly.
And that's kind of difficult to do because you're so nervous.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I always tell people, like, that's a big thing too when you're picking somebody. Like, we always know the behind the scenes. And there's some great photographers, but they give no direction on wedding day. I mean, you didn't have a bridal party, but like some of these people that have 10 bridesmaids, 10 groomsmen, you got to have somebody like a Pasha that can direct and tell them where to go and what to do.
Yes, and move the timeline along in sync with you all. And,
Right.
you know, when they put you on a golf cart and take you to different spots, and he knows when the lighting's good and bad,
Right,
which
yeah.
I know is a photography thing, but, like, we're working with a lot of different elements here. The marsh, the tide, the whole thing that we don't always have in other places.
Yeah, and sunset, all of those things.
Weeping willow, making shade. I mean, yeah, it's all there.
I think another important thing was the band. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was definitely important. Ronnie Johnson.
Yes.
Yep, that was his name.
We knew him from a very long time ago, so that was super important.
Yeah, that was super
cool. It was
cool.
really nice to have them both.
It was.
That was a big luxury, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because you had JP for other songs that he couldn't play. So, no, I love a band DJ combo for sure. Little live music, little DJ. No, for sure. What were some things you absolutely didn't want?
Absolutely didn't want. I didn't want to have those Electric Slide and Macarena songs played, but I think the guests overruled me on that. I did not want a buffet of any kind. I wanted a plated dinner.
Yep.
Let's see, what else did I not? I didn't want a ginormous event with people that I barely knew. I think that's a tough decision when you're trying to figure it all out.
And I think y'all enjoyed your day much more than you would if you'd had 300 people at a wedding.
100%. And I remember first walking in there and you saying 80 people is the perfect amount. And I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it was awesome because you got to interact, talk to everybody. You didn't feel like you had all night to have to walk around and say, hey, you got to actually enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Did you know what design or vibe you wanted, or was that something that we helped you figure out?
Oh, you all helped me tremendously because I was patching things together from Instagram and Pinterest and other weddings that you had done that I love that brought me to you.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to you, you got to tailor this back because Mom and I will have this looking like a Real Housewives production.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. We love Real Housewives, but I'm not sure it was the appropriate venue for us to be doing that.
Right. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the waterfall lights in there. I mean, that was just like magical.
Yes.
It was. I mean, and the linens.
That was my favorite part.
I'm still obsessed with those linens.
Yeah, they set it apart.
And I'm pretty sure we're going to see them again a lot this year from other weddings. We're seeing your photos.
Yes.
So your reception was a never before used space, like meaning the look and how the tables and everything went. Was it hard to envision the reception since it had never been done?
No, because you had made that rendering. And so, there's a lot of things that you showed me. Now, there's nothing that can prepare you for when you took Jeff and I in the back. And he said, he's told many people the story and he's really not into these kind of details, but it takes your breath away to see it all like that.
It's definitely magical.
Yes.
Yeah. And I always love that moment when you guys can walk in and actually see it come to life.
Without everyone else there was really actually very nice.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of being a wedding planner is like, seeing it all come together.
Yeah.
Every little detail, everything's so perfect. And you guys, just that moment is like what I live for. So I love it. Okay. You had some custom details that we love. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about the seating chart. Let's talk about the favors, the place cards. Where do you want to start with those?
You can choose.
Okay.
That's a lot.
So let's start with the favors. I think that's probably what the girls in the office love so much.
Oh.
So, and if you want to tell what those represented.
So like the favors.
The favor wall.
Okay, not the little bag, the welcome bag thing. The favor. Okay,
favors.
so the favor wall was really in memory of my dad.
Yes.
And there was a little. I tried to make a little piece of somebody in there, so it wasn't like a random collection of tchotchkes.
I thought it was so cool.
Yeah. So my dad liked his certain, vices and entertainment, and he loved drinking bourbon and whiskey and Crown Royal. So there was a little miniature Crown Royal in there.
Yep.
And then my father also, this this was years and years ago. He loved cigarettes, but Mom wouldn't let me buy people real cigarettes. She declined that. So we came up with the idea very early on, I remember, of the candy cigarettes.
Loved it.
And who doesn't love a pack of candy cigarettes?
Right? They're so awesome.
Those were a big hit. There was an Oreo in there that was based on one of Jeff's favorite sayings, woo the nights. And then I'm obviously a big Bravo Real Housewives fan, and one of the housewives, Heather, she married somebody from another Bravo show, Tark. They had a baby shower, and she had a custom candle, and it was like a luxury custom candle. And so I contacted the woman, and they're handmade here in the U.S. She was able to make us a custom label. She was awesome.
Yeah, they're really cool. It was I think one of my favors I've ever gotten at a wedding.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
Except Type A here decided I was going to put them together myself and ordered boxes that were way too ginormous. So I had to repurpose some packaging, which then
I think it worked out perfect.
You all fixed it.
Yeah, we made all the tags perfect on the front side.
It was perfect, but
I think it worked out well because it was actually an easier carry for people to take.
Yes, I probably should have consulted with y'all prior to doing.
No, but boxes are cute. Boxes are cute. Yeah, no, for sure. And then, so let's talk about the place settings. So we had the little mini pumpkins.
Yes.
And then we had their name. We did like a little slice, and then we put their name in the pumpkin. Was there anything else on the? We had a menu card, right?
Yes.
Yep, little menu card.
We definitely wanted details.
The details.
We were down to like we controlled like the candle size in there. And
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And then as guests walked in, there was a cool champagne wall that had the nights on it, and they got a glass of champagne. And then when they walked into the reception, we had the cool tree with the hanging where they found their name.
Yes.
So
that came from my grandpa. One of my favorite books when I was young was called The Giving Tree.
Okay.
So in the middle of the night, I was like, I want a tree, and I want crystals to hang from it with their names on it. But really, I wanted people to take them home and hang them on their Christmas tree because they said their individual names. So the amount of like pictures I'm getting text, like, look at this on our tree, is actually really warms my heart.
Right.
There was another little piece of it taken home to like hang up on there.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was not the most fun. I was worried about y'all like having to help people find these.
It was okay because you didn't have a ton of people.
Yes.
You know, if you had 300, it might have struggled.
And the tree was not like 12 foot tall.
Yeah.
It was a manageable size tree.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a man-made tree.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, on your side, how easy or difficult did you find the planning process? Was there anything that was the hardest to make the decision on, meaning like vendors or picking anything for the wedding?
No, I think you really helped me get the A-team of the vendors.
Love it.
And yeah,
Okay,
that was, we had it. Difficulties for me were just making decisions like, I love stationery and paper goods. That was tough. There's so many options.
Yeah, that can get a little overwhelming.
Yes, that was the only thing. Yep, no, font sizes stress me out.
Yeah, and they're like, what font do you want? I'm like, I don't know.
I have no clue. No.
Yeah, no, it gets a little overwhelming for that. All right, so let's talk about the 3 cakes. I think they're still talking about it. And the lady Bonnie that did the wedding,
yes,
she like loved every one of them. So let's talk about the 3 cakes and what they meant or the meaning behind them.
So Mom and I saw a picture, I think, of a cake on Bonnie's website that we fell in love with, that we knew was going to be the main cake.
Right.
But, who doesn't love cake? And we had seen kind of like variations of things that Bonnie had built and other, things. And so we wanted a groom's cake that was basically kind of unique, where she shaped it just like Jeff's boat and made little clay people of Jeff and I. We sent her a picture, and the boat was so detailed down to like the license plate numbers on the side.
And the engines, those were important.
Yes, if I told you if that boat only had 1 engine on it, I'd be divorced before I was like out of a reception. But yeah, people's mouths really dropped open over that boat.
No, it was really cool for sure. Yeah. There was a lot of cake left over.
There was so much cake, but I have a lot of that cake.
Yeah.
There was actually only 2 were left. The top tier,
Oh,
perfect.
And
then part of the third one was left over.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. All right, so let's talk about the late night food. What did you serve, and would you say it's a must do?
100%, it's a must do.
Right.
I knew what I wanted. It was a stretch that y'all had to make happen for me.
We did. And it was a food truck.
Yes.
And they served grilled cheeses.
Yes.
And they were phenomenal.
Yes.
And I remember I got one. I was like, I want another one, but I don't need it.
No, they were so good. And, they luckily were a vendor where we at the reception space already. But it did take some doing to get it over there. I don't know if Pasha was really happy to have that truck in the background of the photos.
Yeah, he kept wanting it moved, but they came earlier today and they laughed.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're not here.
I think a regret that I have is that I didn't get on that truck and pretend to be driving it, because that, I think, really
that would have been cute.
I mean,
or pretend like you're back there cooking.
Yeah, there just wasn't enough time in the day for that. But yeah, that would have been a dream.
That's too funny. All right, so talking about food, what happened to the food that we packed up for you after the wedding?
We didn't know it was there. We forgot that you told us it was there, really, and we left it in the back of the car for a couple days.
It happens all the time. Even if we're like, here it is, like, you know, you're just in the moment, you get out. Like, it happens a lot. We've even had it happen with, like, car service. Like, they'll put everything in the trunk, and then, like, it's just dark, and they don't see it or something.
Whoops.
But,
I was really sad because I would have loved that grilled cheese at that time of night. Yeah.
No, I agree. All right. Well, looking back, what's one thing you would tell yourself before planning?
Before planning,
hire a planner.
Yeah, well, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, I would honestly tell myself just to let you do the rehearsal dinner, to let you do all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So where was the rehearsal dinner again?
It was at Tuscany Bistro.
Oh, that's
but
right. Yep.
Honestly, that day was planned. The wedding day was planned to perfection. I worried about nothing. But because my husband wanted to be in charge of that portion, naturally there was a lot for me to be worried about, like flowers and the menu for that and the place cards for that and the whole thing. And could it have been probably
who did flowers that night?
Myself that day.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, and that's not something that I wanted to be like worried about during that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so just
and then
that's a part of it.
And then also that same day, your grandmother.
Oh yeah.
She fell.
Yeah, she did.
Went to the She
went
at
to
the hospital.
Doctor.
Doctor.
Yes. Yeah, got some stitches.
Mm-hmm. Bless her. She showed up like a champ.
She sure did. She wasn't missing it.
Nope, she sure wasn't.
No.
Ride or die right there.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so there's one thing I have to tell you that you don't know about. So you guys are out eating, having a good time, making sure everything's good. And so the vendors, they're ready to eat. They're hungry. And so I go to the caterer. I was like, hey, we're ready for the vendor meals, you know, which they have prepped and ready. Mm-hmm. And we kind of talked about a time what we thought would be good while you guys were still seated, you know. And so they bring the tray over, and everybody's starving. It's just like, we'll eat whatever. I don't care if you give us a sandwich, PB&J, like, we'll, you know, whatever. And they give them all out. And I had to get up and go do something. I'm just like, I can't really sit and eat because I'm like, want to make sure everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And so I come back, and I remember Fate was sitting beside me. And I, like, went to cut into the grouper. And I was like, this isn't cooked. And so I ate a bite, and I was like, oh, no. And I look around, and, like, they're all done. And we all had grouper. Uh-huh. And I was like, Fate. I looked at Fate, and I'm like, stop eating. Like, she was still on, like, a few bites. She's like, I thought it tasted weird. So I'm, like, immediately, like, get up, like, because I'm going to the kitchen. I don't want them serving y'all the same thing.
Right.
So make a long story short, they said that these plates they weren't finished cooking. So they brought us, the trays got mixed up. Oh. Anyway, she kept apologizing. So I was so worried. I texted Pasha the next day. I was like, are you okay? He was like, yep, I'm great. But, like, it was raw.
Wow.
Like, raw. And they were eating it.
Wow.
So one thing that stuck out to me about the day was obviously I went to your house that morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you have to get ready here. And that was like a total, like, moment change. I called Pasha, and I was like, she has to get in her dress here. Like, you know, the cottage is cute, but your house was like just the colors and the everything. So he did convince you. What did he say when he came in there?
He just walked in, and they said, it's been suggested that you get ready here. They're absolutely right. This is much better. And then he basically, you know, they're Pasha and Natalia. They're talking to everyone and being them, and they're like members of the family in the house with us, and they're you know, looking at the house, and they're asking questions. Then they're taking pictures of the dogs, and you know, they're like staging that porch to take the invitation photos and the whole thing. There was no, I mean, I immediately trusted him. So whatever he said, that was how it was going to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then probably the pedal cannons that went off. That's definitely one of my favorite elements. That was very cool.
Me too. I wish I would have had my veil behind me, though, and not in my hand. That's my big regret.
Was it? I didn't even notice.
Probably nobody else would but me.
But you still had it on, right?
I had
You're
it
just
on.
saying you had it
in my
like
hand, and it's the Christmas.
Let's talk about the veil.
Oh, the veil. Yeah.
The veil.
Yeah, the veil is actually the one thing that's still intact completely. Yeah, if you can believe it.
I'm pretty sure that Mom they thought we weren't coming down the aisle, right?
They definitely.
So let's talk about that moment. Or Jeff thought you weren't coming too, probably.
I think they said they both looked at each other and were like, what is going on out there? But only you and I knew and nobody else noticed.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was, I mean, we're right on time. Doors are closed. We've got you right there. We've got your dress. We got your veil. Everything's perfect. And so when we go to open the doors, you probably go like 2 feet.
Yeah, maybe if that.
And there is only one nail on this whole stairs, and the little veil gets caught.
Then my head starts to go back and back and back and back.
Yeah. And I'm at the door. We're at the door, so I'm not behind you at this moment.
Yes. And you normally are a super calm person, so when I hear you, you're like, oh, no, oh, no. Yeah. And then I start yelling, shut the door, shut the door.
You shut the door. Immediately shut the door.
Here Comes the Bride.
Yeah.
We have to take the veil thing out and put it back in. And I didn't realize what Jeff and Mom would have thought in that minute. He said he looked at her and she looked at him. And they're like, she's leaving. Like,
it probably felt like forever.
I remember you saying, "Don't worry about it. It's a really long song. It's fine.
Yeah,
Nobody's
fine. Don't worry. Everything's fine."
And it was in the end. And I assumed there'd be a giant hole in that veil. That veil is the one thing that came out of there pristine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we closed the doors. I mean, it probably wasn't a matter of like 10, 15 seconds.
No.
But it probably felt like minutes
they
for
all
them.
were standing up, staring
They
back.
were standing.
So that part was...
And she's not coming.
No, she's gone now. Back to the trolley we go.
That was so great. That was awesome. I mean, not that your veil got stuck, but the moment of them probably
thinking. Every situation probably needs a story like that. It's pretty lighthearted.
Oh my gosh. No, for sure. And probably one of my next favorite moments, I have it on my phone. It's like a 3-minute video, and that is the Ric Flair.
Yeah.
So I kept asking Angie. She was like, "Oh, I have this video. I was like, because it was really long. So it was like trying to get it to me. And so I finally got it like the day before. And like, I didn't like, my mouth was like, what? Like every other word was a cuss word from Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm just thinking grandma, mom, like.
My side, yeah. Cool.
But
Jeff's side, yes, they're a little bit more.
Conservative.
On the religious side.
Yeah, religious, conservative. Yes. And so I was like, okay, what can we do with this? So I sent it to JP, and I was like, JP, can you put some bleeps in here?
There's a lot of apprehension of me. We weren't sure. It was like one of those cameo videos.
Yeah, cameo, that's what it was.
Jeff loves Ric Flair, and it was only supposed to be 30 seconds. But, you have the option to tell Rick what you want him to talk about or let Rick script it, and I let Rick script it because Mom and I were like, that's why Jeff loves him. He doesn't care. He says whatever he wants to say. Yeah. He sure did. And
all 3 minutes.
All those bleeps made the people go wild. I mean, the more he did it, the more they screamed and clapped and jumped around.
It was so good.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when it was over, JP played the Rolex wearing, what is it, diamond ring? What is
Ric
it?
Flair drip.
Is
it Bad Bunny? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to play that. That was pretty funny.
Oh,
that sent all the kids wild.
Oh. Maybe I requested for that. I thought it was very appropriate.
It was.
That's too funny.
Oh, my.
And then we also had Spider-Man play at one point. Yes, you didn't know about that,
Spider-Man made an appearance.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Your mom told me, I don't care what Angie says. He's coming out. I said, okay.
Yes.
He had the moves, too.
He does.
Yeah. Did you order that thing I sent you the other day?
She did. I sent it to her. I'm like, this is from Sara. She's like, oh, he'll love that. Yeah. Jeff's like, he's going to tear down the house with that.
I was like, why is this popping up on my Instagram? Probably because I'm looking for my niece and nephew.
I didn't mind Spider-Man, but Jeff would like my nephew to grow out of Spider-Man. He's 6.
How was he? 6?
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
He's got a few more years.
Exactly. I'm afraid of that.
Oh, my God. Too funny.
Have you ever gone through an entire process and met the groom the day before?
Yep.
Yeah. That's great. Okay.
I thought that was
all right. Good. Yeah.
That was Jeff.
Yeah.
I knew he existed.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. Just never met him. No, that happens a lot.
Did you know this is? I have something to tell you that's really funny, actually.
Okay.
So his brother, Wayne, his older brother.
Yes.
You have the same name as my sister.
Yes.
And so when they introduced Wayne at the rehearsal dinner, Sara, Wayne comes up and gives you a big hug and just plants one right on you. And later it was like, Angie, your sister, so great. She's so beautiful. And I was like, Wayne, my sister wasn't there. He's like, yes, she was. I'm like, no. I'm like, that's Sara, our wedding planner.
I'm so dead. Oh, my God, that's so
Jeff's
great.
favorite story to tell.
That's funny. That's funny. That's too funny.
Yeah, a riot. Mm-hmm.
So I know we talked about the 3 cakes, but what was the other cake that kind of threw people for a loop?
So
they didn't expect it.
I know you mentioned we didn't have a bridal party.
Yes.
So there was, but I wanted my special friends, my best friends, to be like to feel special. And we all love this movie called Steel Magnolias.
Yes.
Our favorite. My bachelorette trip was actually to stay in the Steel Magnolia house. So we went to Natchitoches, Louisiana, and we were, in Shelby's bathtub, in the pink bathtub. But there were people who surprisingly had never seen this movie. So to see,
really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So to see an armadillo with wearing a necklace that said the Steel Magnolias, and I had them write my friends' names on it.
It was really cute.
I think people were surprised, but it's a monumental, iconic thing in the South, I think.
No, absolutely.
So,
and it was red velvet, right?
It was,
of course.
And they made fun of it, they called it the bleeding armadillo cake in the movie.
Yeah,
and it's Julia Roberts and Sally Field, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Mm-hmm. I remember I have a photo of one of the girls that got a lot of cake. She had a huge plate of cake, but I think she was also the lady that was in the bushes.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
I did see that. Yes. It was actually when we were leaving, and Jeff and I were talking to you, and I was like, "There's a rustling in the bushes behind us next to the bathroom." And yes, the lady came up out of there with leaves in her hair. Yeah, that was entertaining.
We won't say any names, but
no. Actually, you remember when you had asked her to exit the picture with JP?
Yeah.
I mean, JP's one request, the DJ, was to get a picture with Jeff and I, and you kept saying, "Ma'am, I need you to get out of the picture," and she wouldn't get out of the picture.
She was, I got her whole life story that night. I know a lot about her.
I know you do, yep. We kind of joke a little bit about most valuable player at the wedding and least valuable player at the wedding. You think you can guess now what's happened there.
Oh, my God, yeah, she was a little fireball.
Yeah, I think she had herself a time.
She did, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on our podcast. It was super awesome to have our first ever bride to come talk with us, and we wish we could just multiply you for every weekend because you were one of our favorite clients. So we appreciate you and wish you many years of happiness, and hopefully we can hang out,
I hope so.
I hate that you didn't get to come to the party the other day.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm really mad that I missed that, but I have some ideas in mind of other parties I can have you help with, please.
I love it. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. Well, tell everybody what you do and who you work for.
Oh, I work, I'm an outside sales rep. I work in the interior design industry. I work for the world's biggest wall covering company.
Yes. So any wallpaper, anything you need, she's your girl.
Yeah, this is a great market. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, yes. She has some really cool wallpaper in your house. So I was like checking it out. It was so cool.
It made me happy that y'all loved it so much.
Yeah,
so that was very kind.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks again.